Okay. And hey, it's 6 o'clock.
Showtime.
And is Will on? I don't see Will. There he is.
Hello.
Hi, Will. Just making sure you're joining us before we start the meeting.
I am, and pardon me, I have a mouthful yet, but yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I understand. Okay, everybody's here, so I think we will start the meeting if that's okay with everyone. Okay, hearing no calls out. Okay, so at 6:01, I call the regular business meeting of the Reading Planning Commission for October 24th, 2023 to order. Here in the room is Danny DeCoya, and myself, Wayne Beeler. I am the chairman. Online, we have Peter Rye, Nelson DeLeon, James Harris, and Vice Chair Wilson Feasey. So we actually, all 6 of us are here. So we will we'll go on, and Sarah, how do I need to do this? To accept the Planning Commission agenda with the additions. I turn to Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'd have to make a motion if the additions were not advertised on the agenda that was posted yesterday. You'd have to make a motion to amend the agenda to include those items.
So I asked for a motion to amend the published agenda to include the review of a land development waiver for the Berkshire Country Club and a review of the escrow release for Exeter Hall for Albright College. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Okay, thank you, Nelson. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Danny. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Very good, we have an agenda. First then, we will start out with, is Tim here? Yes, there he is. First, we will start out then with the review for the land development plan for Abilities in Motion. I'll turn it over to Jerome for the update.
Okay, at our last meeting, the planning commission had recommended or had made a motion for approval of the land development plan, subject to the comments that were issued by myself on September 20th, 2023. I since then consolidated the conditions of approval, which included the first one being the sanitary sewage flows, and that the Public Works Department verify the information that was supplied to the city of Reading. So Tim has that and has responded to those flows. Tim?
Yeah, thanks, Jerome. Yeah, it's sorry about it being a little late. We had to do a little bit of research on this one. We've received a letter recommending from the applicant, a letter recommending that they do not need additional sewer planning for this lot. And if you remember, this is the lot at the Heasters Lane that used to be a store, and but I believe it also was owned by Sweet Streets Dessert Inc. And it was owned by them for a number of years, according to the water billing information that we had. The projected sewer use is over 7 EDUs. It's I think it was like 3,000 or so gallons per day, because they will have in upwards of 200 employees at 10 gallons per day. So it's significant. It's not something that should be just considered to be a minor increase. It's just it's a fairly significant flow and something we'd want to make sure that we have adequately planned into our system. So after looking at the historic flows, we find that there was actually no flow during the period in time in which the city passed their last Act 537 plan, which was in 2011, 2012. So there would be no flows measured or attributed to this address that would have been included in the Act 537. The other consideration is that every lot that existed at the time of the Act 537 would automatically be assumed at 1 EDU if it hadn't already been allotted a higher planning value, a higher flow rate than 1 EDU, which we don't have any record of this being approved for a higher flow rate. So we have to go with 1 EDU. Or no more than 2. It could go above 1 EDU, but generally we look at 1 EDU. Where they're projected is over 7 EDUs, from what we could tell. And Deb Hogue, who is the utilities division manager, and myself looked at this, and we both agreed that this lot would need sewer planning because of the projected flows, which we agree with. The letter that came from the applicant, and this was from System Design Engineering. I guess they're working together with the agent they're using right now, which is Hofford Surveyor, projected a flow of about 2,000 gallons per day, which is over 7 EDUs. That's a considerable flow. They're going to have 200 employees. They're going to have toilet rooms and lavatories and sinks, a kitchen, a dishwasher. So, you know, we agree that that seems like a pretty good average projected flow. And with that, we also are stating that they will need to go through the planning, sewer planning modules in order for them to continue with the development of this lot.
So that'll create a little bit of a delay. The other items that we have on here are relatively minor. And there are no municipal improvements agreements. So we're just going to have to sit and wait for the planning module process to go through. We more than likely will have to reaffirm approval of this plan once the planning modules are taken care of.
Just note that from what I understand, when Sweet Street did own it, I believe it was only for trailer storage. They actually did not use the building. And before that, it was a retail store, which
Yes.
would, under normal circumstances, is like 1 EDU. Is that correct, Tim?
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what our recollection is too. There used to be a store, and I think it was Burlington Coat Factory. I think there was the Coat Factory, and they sold some other things.
Yeah.
But
It was actually
Coat-
a Baby Depot at that time.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was a store
Burlington-
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is, well, yes, it was Baby Depot associated with Burlington. In between, it was used by the Reading School District for a temporary headquarters for the facilities department, but that usage would have been minimal.
Yeah. Yeah, either way, the flow usage would have been very minimal. You know, far less than 1 EDU. 1 EDU is 262 gallons per day, which is a lot. When you think about a store that might have a couple of employees and, you know, one toilet room that might get used, their engineer was projecting it was over 3,000 gallons per day. There's no way it could be that high for a store like the Baby Depot. And the water records, and I sent an email out. I'm not sure if everybody on the commission got that, but the water records show that there was no use. There was no flow. There was no flow recorded in the billing until you go back into the 1990s. And I'm not sure what was there. Maybe it was a Baby Depot back then. I'm not sure, but it was less than 100 gallons per day. Still all of this, you know, adds up to they will need to do sewer planning.
Very good. Does anyone from the commission have any other comments? Okay. With that, Do I hear a motion to table? Danny, second?
Second.
I think it was James. I'll take James. Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, very good. We will then move on to Lishke's Mennonite Church Land Development Plan.
Okay, this project was also previously approved by the planning commission on June 27, 2023, subject to conditions which the applicant has submitted to us in order to plans that resolve most of the previous conditions. There is a municipal improvements agreement required for this project, so that will need to be executed, and a stormwater management maintenance agreement, which also is required, and I think they took care of those two items, the plan is still needs to be reported, and that would have to be reported with the municipal improvements agreement and the stormwater management agreement. Wayne, do you recall you signed this agreement?
I'm trying to remember what the last thing we signed is.
I think I was waiting on confirmation if they had agreements and everything settled before I released them. They were signed.
Okay, great. So yeah, those were the only items, and it looks like they have mobilized and they're ready to start construction.
So can they record the plan separately from the agreements, or do they need the agreements executed together?
You need them executed all together
Okay.
and then signed. July, August, September.
I'm looking, I don't see that I prepared the agreements, but I will double check that.
It was in June.
Okay,
I think one order of business we're gonna have to take care of is we do a reaffirmation of this plan. I think we did last month. Yeah, I don't have mine there.
Where's the one day I don't bring all my paperwork? I know.
if there's a question as to timing, I would recommend reaffirming it just out of caution.
Okay. Well, I'm 90% sure we did it, but let's take that advice.
Yeah.
Jerome, my notes say that a conditional final plan was approved on September 26th.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
then that was the preliminary plan. Okay,
Last
Then we're
month.
good.
we're good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ted.
You're welcome.
So we're just waiting for the stormwater maintenance agreement and a few things from the legal department.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay, and this requires no action because we already approved it. Correct. Very good. Okay. Any comments on this from the commissioners? Very good. Then we shall move on to Iglesia Pentecostal Movimiento de Fe Land Development Plan. I just like saying that. And I see Dan's here, so I'll turn it over to Jerome for the update.
Okay, so the planning commission did approve this plan on September 26th, 2023, subject to the comments that were presented in my September 19th, 2023 review. Since then, we reviewed the follow-up plan that was submitted by Dan, and we have the following remaining comments. We had asked that Public Works, in conjunction with the Fire and Rescue Department, just verify the proposed pedestrian and vehicular accessibility more so in the alley. It should not be a problem, but we just wanted to have one last look at that. That was the one item that is required yet. The second item is the developer shall be served by sanitary sewage facilities, and the same thing as the abilities in motion. We needed to have flows verified. the site was previously used as a restaurant, now a church. And then the other building that's located on the other street. Oh, I can't remember the name of that street. 1119
Luzerne?
Luzerne, thank you. So that building is now going to be utilized as part of the church and going to be used primarily for church-related activities. So we had asked Dan to supply the Public Works Department with flow data, and which he has. And Tim, are you okay with those?
Yeah, in fact, Dan did it a while ago, and then he did it again. I think it was the same thing, Dan, that you gave me a couple of years ago. It's basically pretty simple. It's a lot different than the one we just reviewed for the abilities in motion. These are two separate lots that had been subdivided prior to the last Act 537. So they would have already been allotted at least at a minimum one EDU. We don't have any record of any additional planning, but they have one EDU, and neither the church or the additional subsidiary lot at 1119 Luzerne Street will exceed one EDU. So there's no need for any additional sewer planning since they're both approved for one EDU. The flows from these two lots would be minimal. So we have no further need for any kind of planning modules or additional sewer planning. The only question I have is Dan, was there a note put on the plan that was summarized that?
I had to look. I think I did.
Yeah, I didn't
I'll
get a
have to look.
chance to look at it. And right now my computer lost its connection with the server, so I can't see. I don't know if Emily has the plan available that she could put it up on the screen or not. That's the only thing, is it's nice to have it on the plan because it gets recorded and then we don't have to go and revisit it all over again. I did write an email, but sometimes emails get lost summarizing what I just said.
Usually what I do, I had signed and sealed the cover page, but I try to record all the pages so that it's recorded. So we could put that note on a second page, which doesn't need to be signed, if that would be agreeable.
Oh, yeah, as long as it's recorded. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we can get that. If it isn't on there, I can make sure it's on. And if I get plans to sign, I can take it up and Michelle will get it signed, sealed, recorded.
Okay.
I don't, the other comment with the fire and public works, we're widening the alley. We should be making everything more access friendly than anything ever was. So I don't know why there'd be a problem with that. There isn't anything more we can do.
No, there isn't. Dan, the note does not exist on plan sheet 1. So let's check to see if it's on there. It may be on plan sheet 2.
Well, no, if it isn't on plan sheet 1, I'll make
He'll
sure
add
it's
it.
on plan sheet 2. And when we record it,
So
I
that's
can
all
send
we-
you a PDF with that note on there then.
Okay,
Because the city signs them and gives me an electronic sign plan. I get a copy of that made, and then I'll add it with my paper sheets and I take it into the courthouse and record paper.
okay, so other than that, we will need to have the municipal improvements agreement and the stormwater management maintenance agreement. For the municipal improvements agreement, we have agreed to the cost estimates that were supplied by Dan. Okay. And
I think
then-
Michelle said last month that she'd be working on that, but I haven't seen anything. And if I recall, she thought it would just take a stormwater agreement rather than the full developers agreement.
That was my initial thought, but in talking with Jerome after the meeting, I think we determined that we needed a full agreement, cut down a little bit. And I believe, but I will confirm, I think I circulated those for review. I don't know if Tim and Jerome, if you had a chance to review them.
Okay.
Yes,
I have not, but I will now that I know that they've been circulated.
And if you can't locate them, let me know and I'll resend them.
Okay.
The only other thing, can the planning commission produce some kind of memo or the minutes that this plan has been approved? Because that'll help my client in their financing goals.
I'll have minutes. I didn't get a chance to do minutes for this past month. I should have them available for next month. I can send him a draft if that'll help, and then you guys can then approve.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Yeah, so Dan, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to do the minutes, for last month, but I'll get them done within the next week or so. I'll send you a draft, for your client, and then I don't know if this would help, the meeting recording is on our website. They could refer to that as well, but then they'll approve the final minutes at next month's meeting. But I'll send you a draft once I've completed them.
Dan, this October 12th letter also references that the plan was approved.
Oh, okay.
Emily, do you do resolutions? I know in the annual report, there's resolution numbers referenced.
I've never done resolutions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
We'll have to update those. Randy sent those to me before she left. And they just need to be updated.
okay. Because that would be another document showing it was approved.
Well, then I guess we just need to get the agreements squared away and then we can get this thing recorded.
I believe so, yes. Okay,
Okay.
very good. Once again, we did approve this plan, so no action is needed. This was mostly for information, make sure everyone's on the same page. So with that, we will move on to 324 North 9th Street annexation plan. And I'll turn it over to Jerome. This is new for us, right?
Yes, this is a new application. Our letter is dated October 13th, 2023. This is for the 320, 322, and 324 parcels of land on North 9th Street. As I mentioned, there are three parcels of land. They contain a cumulative total of 7,253 square feet. The annexation is exempt from standard procedures, so it can be reviewed as a preliminary / final plan. The purpose of the annexation plan is to join the parcels in the common deed, and the applicant will need to provide a deed description along with the revised final plan and record that with the final plan as well. And that's our standard procedure for that type of project. The plan view should depict all existing site improvements, which include the buildings, the curb line, the sidewalks, driveways, parking areas, and that's just a standard requirement. Parcels of land are located within the CR zoning district, and we put a note should be provided on the plan to indicate that all existing and proposed uses shall comply with the CR zoning district. We'd also ask that the applicant also provide a couple of additional comments or notes on the plan which deal with the building and zoning permits, as well as site improvements, and we did that by email as well. So if the applicant is the applicant here?
This is Larry Grabowski with C2C Design Group for the applicant.
Do you have any response on the comments?
No, they're all well complied. We actually have a meeting on Thursday with the architect for this project because they're still figuring out what to do. So as of right now, it's going to be a consolidation plan without any proposed improvements.
Biggest question is, do we have a county review?
I do not have a county review as of right now.
I've never received
I didn't.
well, I don't think I have, but I don't know.
Yeah, let's just double check.
Yeah, this was a late submittal, so.
I did send it.
with this plan, it's like only 15 days.
Yeah. That's your. Oh, yep, we do.
We do? Great. So the plan, the Berks County Planning Commission letter is dated,
It's the 18th.
right?
And then, let's just take a quick look at it. Okay, that's comment one is typical. Comment two is staff has no adverse comments regarding the 3-lot consolidation. The next 2 paragraphs are the typical concluding paragraphs that are on every reviewed letter.
I'd also like to point out one thing I forgot was that the Public Works Department agreed that 320 North 9th Street should be the address for this property. Okay. Very good. So we do get confirmation of that. So we can entertain approval of this plan subject to these conditions.
Okay, very good. Are there any comments from any of the commissioners?
Yeah, this is Peter, right? So I'm curious what the intent is with this consolidation. Do we know?
Larry?
At this time, we don't know. We have a meeting with the architect on Thursday to start talking about those things. The applicant / developer has 3 or 4 ideas in their head from what I'm told, so we don't know at this point.
I'm just curious why pursue the consolidation without a plan, without an intent? What does it accomplish?
It brings 3 non-conforming parcels into conformance. The parcels did not comply with zoning as freestanding lots.
There was some preliminary discussion. My keyboard isn't cooperating with me, so I can't access the correspondence that we've had. But I believe it had something to do with, it was with the parking lot. So there's a building with a parking lot that they're trying to consolidate all into one lot. I think they wanted to make some improvements on that lot and then establish uses in the building. This had come through, it had come through the zoning office for a few different inquiries, so I think that's what they're just starting with the consolidation, because they can't do anything without the parcels being consolidated regardless if they're going to make any improvements.
So Peter, that's, and the zoning staff had then provided me that information, and that's why we require the additional 2 notes to be added.
What way is it not conforming?
They're too small.
They're small, and also just again, I'll have to get back to you, Peter, with the exact conversations that we've had. I can't pull it up in front of me right now. But it had to do with improvements to the parking lot and establishing uses in that building.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I can email you once I can get my computer to start working again.
You couldn't put most CR uses on 324 or 322 North 9th Street. 320 is the one that has the existing building.
I see.
And you need 2,500 square feet to do it, plus meet all the setback requirements.
The other positive thing is that they will have their own parking then under the same umbrella. So that would be an improvement for the neighborhood, I believe.
This is currently a store, is it?
At 320 North 9th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, Larry, do you know if that store is actually occupied?
I don't know one way or the other. Sorry.
I
'Cause it
can
seems like-
I can update everyone, again, there's something going on with my keyboard, so I can't pull up the property file, but. There were conversations about uses or establishing different uses and things like that, so I can. Draft up a little summary and send it to you guys.
Yeah, that'd be great, because it is a commercial use on the first floor. According to the signage, but I must say, in all the years that I've passed it. I've never, ever seen anyone there, nor the doors open or lights. So, it would be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I can send everyone a quick summary from our previous conversations. But the main thing to get out of the way is that they wouldn't be able to do a few. It was a couple different inquiries, so they wouldn't really be able to do much of anything without consolidating the lots first anyways.
So this would actually allow them to move ahead no matter what.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, very good. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Will. I just want to clarify, this is a little confusing because we also were given a satellite map image. And sometimes on those, they don't have the addresses right, especially when there are multiple lots like this. So the red brick building, that's 920, and then the other two lots are the parking lot. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, because like on the map, it implies that the building is it says 322, whatever it is, 322, sorry. 322, as if the building to the south is 320 and the lot is, okay, so.
The satellite's
I'll go by
incorrect.
that. Right, so it's really 320 is the red brick building, and then the parking lot is two lots in one, which is
That's,
why it's like extra wide, because I was wondering if it's overlapping another parcel or not. I just wanted to clarify that, okay.
Well, if you look at the preceding page, look at page 2 of my review. The plan view shows the street addresses in the little rectangle thing by North 9th Street. So you can see 320, 322, and 324.
Yeah, but I thank you, yeah, but I wanted to see how they corresponded to the photo image, so.
Yeah, the satellite's incorrect.
Yeah. Right, so I just point out, that's some attractive corbelling of those bricks on that facade of that building, so I'd like to see that preserved, so that's good. And I don't remember any use for this parcel either, but I think some of the other properties nearby are still active or have been, but this I'm not so sure. But okay, that just clarified that. I'll make sure what we were talking about. Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good.
And maybe I should follow up, because this is a Ninth Street, and Ninth Street is a state highway, right? And there's an apron here. We don't have any issues with an annexation at this point, maybe with land development later, but we don't have any issues with any needs for any highway occupancy permits or anything like that?
Not at this time, but you are correct that they do a land development plan and do change the driveway apron. It could change that, figure that.
Very well, that's what I thought, just a heads up for the applicant. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Any other comments? Okay, with that, I believe we can go ahead. Do I hear a motion to approve the preliminary final annexation plan for 320 to 324 North 9th Street? Dan? And second?
Peter?
Peter? Very good. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. You have an annexation plan, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we will do, and only because I received this first, or I just received it and it's fresh in my head. A waiver request for the land development plan for the a building at the Berkshire Country Club. I'll turn it over to Jerome for the summary.
Yes, we just received this. You'll notice that the applicant has requested a waiver of land development. Citing, and the review letter does cite the issues why. If you notice on the plan that was provided by the applicant, these site improvements are located within Bern Township. There is just maybe some minor grading activity within the city of Reading. The building itself is going to be, it's an addition to accommodate a subordinate use for golf. And it's 1,530 square feet, and that's appears to be all located within Bern Township. So it's a very difficult plan to read.
Yeah, there is a little bit of the building in the city of Reading, according to page 2. Is someone here for this plan? Yes, sir. But that appears to be less than 800 square feet.
Yeah, it would be. If the total footprint is 1,530 square feet, it looks like it's dividing it in half. So this is usually when we get a plan that requires more than 800 square feet and or it disturbs more than 2,500 square feet, we require a land development plan. The parking improvements appear to be in Bern Township.
Yeah, and usually what we do with this is for those new members, situation like this, if Bern Township wants to make them jump through the hoops, so be it. And then we get a cursory review of the plan. We don't do the whole blown thing like Bern Township did for the church.
I can tell you this. This is Keith Mooney. I'm actually.
Oh, hi Keith, I didn't know this was your project also.
It is not, but I am the solicitor for Bern Township.
Oh, okay.
So Bern Township waived land development for this project last month. The majority of this project is enclosing a porch or a patio that already exists. So there's not much impervious being added because the impervious surface already exists, and they're enclosing the porch so that they can use it both in summer and wintertime. So we weren't even 100% sure that it met the definition of land development because the base of the structure already exists.
Okay. Yeah, and it does not say that in their letter either, though. Thanks for the
Yeah,
thanks for the
that
explanation.
that really clears things up because I was wondering about that myself. And as we said, all the improvements to the parking are in Bern Township. So if there is a question about stormwater, it falls on Bern Township, I would believe. Unless you have any comments, Tim.
No, that was the one caveat to our waiver of land development is that they will have to provide stormwater planning.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
to answer, yeah, Wayne, to answer your question, yeah, I have no problem with you waiving or deferring the stormwater management to Bern Township, since the vast majority of it's in Bern Township.
Looks like it flows towards Bern Township as well.
I think so. I think it does too.
Yeah. So
Mr. Chairman, Keith, do you need anything from this commission declaring that we're gonna defer to Bern on the stormwater,
I think if you want to send a letter to Bern,
including that we'll defer to them on the stormwater?
yep, because there is going to be no land development plan. If you waive land development, we waive it. So there'll be no plan set or recorded plan to put it on. We'll just hold it so that we know our stormwater ordinance is the only one that applies.
Okay, Tim, are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I have a question. Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman.
Will.
Do we even need to waive if it's not even eligible for land development? What do we do?
We did it as a precautionary measure. They asked.
Oh, no, I understand
We
that. Thank
figured
you, Kate.
waive-
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm asking our solicitor, what do we need? Do we need to vote for a letter? Do we just draft a what would you advise?
I would recommend that you defer to Byrne Township review of land development. We now know that Byrne has waived the land development,
Right.
but and also defer to Byrne for review of stormwater, review and inspection of stormwater and compliance with their
Right,
ordinance.
that makes sense, a deferral, not a waiver, but do we need to vote on that or approve anything by a motion of any kind, or we just simply?
No, you need to put a motion because the part of the property is in the city.
To put, because part of it's, and then put it on the record, okay, but it's not a
Correct.
waiver, just a deferral, okay. That makes sense, thank you.
Any other comments? All right, with that, and thank you very much, Keith, that was very, very helpful.
You're welcome.
With that, do I hear a motion to defer, land development, decisions and, review, implementation or review of stormwater management to Byrne Township?
I'll offer that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Will. Second? Is that Nelson? Yep,
Yes.
Nelson. I'll take Nelson. Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Very good, that was good. So with that, we will move on to the question of escrow, and Keith is here. For
I'm
this,
here.
I'll turn it over to Jerome for the explanation, since this is not something we normally do.
Okay, as you recall, the Albright College Exeter Hall Land Development Plan was approved towards the end of last year, beginning of this year. And municipal site improvements were being conducted in accordance with our requirements. They have substantially completed the project. They had asked for a final inspection, which we did conduct an inspection, and I provided a punch list of which needed to be accomplished, and they pretty much completed all those, but we need to verify a few things. So the planning commission would need to provide I assume either a recommendation or an action to reduce the amount of escrow funds for this project. You signed the municipal improvements agreement, so therefore you have you are a party to this. So I went through what the remaining things that needed to be completed, and I made another punch list. And then these are as follows. Number one, we should retain $644.96. That was designated for topsoil, seed, and mulch. Number two, we should retain $5,000 for erosion and sedimentation control. Number three, we should retain the $80,463.81 previously designated as contingencies, which should basically be rolled over into the maintenance funds for the project. Number four, the developer shall pay $14,160.15 to the Community Development Department for review fees for the final land development plan, which were never accounted for. Number five, the developer shall pay $21,696 to the Community Development Department for inspection fees that were completed by my office through August 31st. And those are included within an escrow item. Number six, the developer shall pay or reserve an estimated fee of $16,000 to the community development, which could be part of the maintenance package, for the review of inspections that will occur during the maintenance period, which if which will will be effective between September 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2025. Number 7, an 18-month maintenance period shall commence from December 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2025. The total amount that should be held in maintenance would be 15% of the construction cost, or $120,693.71. Number 8, the Public Works Department and Fire and Rescue Department should conduct a final inspection of the required site improvements to verify if the punch list items that were referenced for them to look at have been satisfied. And number 9, that the Planning Commission solicitor should coordinate the provisions relating to the maintenance agreement. The developer probably would want to know what the exact total is. So the total amount that should be released for the escrow is $747,138.01.
Okay, Tim and Michelle, do you have any comments?
Jerome, the money that we're retaining, does that include the payment for the bills?
It should include those fees, yes.
Okay. So depending how the developer wants to proceed, if they want to pay those outside of the escrow, we could do that. Or if they want to
Yes.
include that in the escrow, the motion would be to release the amount stated, subject to payment of bills and the 18-month maintenance period
Right.
retention.
And for me, everything, it sounds appropriate based on what we had discussed out in the field. Does the wherewithal, the logistics of releasing that portion of the escrow, and I assume this is a letter of credit, is that correct?
Yes.
Does our solicitor, typically it's the solicitor that does that. I don't think, Michelle, you'll do that, right? It's the solicitor? Because when we've done this on prior plans, he always asks, do we have the letter of credit? Do we have the name of the bank, who to contact, all the stuff to put it in place to do the drawdown?
Yeah, Attorney Latchett would typically do that.
Yes, and that's what he's going to ask. So we got to make sure we have all of that background information for him. The agreement, the bank, the letter of credit, the numbers, all that stuff needs to be in place so he can request the drawdown.
Tim, I plan on issuing a letter. I just wanted to I needed to go out and verify one last time to see if the remaining punch list items were completed. But if you have anything to add to that, I would appreciate that. I'll probably issue the letter maybe Monday.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Now, typically, the city engineer is responsible for issuing a letter establishing that all of the required improvements have been, completed. And I would normally do that. I know we still have all these other items here that are left. I would still plan on doing that, but it sounds like we have to wait now. At least, do we have to wait till the end of the maintenance period? Because I heard like $80,000 in reserve for the maintenance period and some other things.
No, I think your approval would be that all improvements have been constructed, but they're subject to have been approved, but they're subject to the 18-month maintenance period. So you can still sign off.
And the only things that I red flagged, Tim, were the topsoil seed and mulch and the erosion sedimentation control. Those were the only ones that were red flagged.
Okay.
Okay, what was that amount again?
The amount that was of the release is $747,138.01. And if you look at the total escrow amount, originally was $925,333.83.
And Tim, it'll just be located in the original letter of credit in City Hall. I vaguely recall Attorney Latchett asking for it to be provided to him at the time, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
And if anybody needs,
even if it was, I'm not certain that he'll still be able to find it.
if anybody needs it, I have it electronically. I can resend it.
Thank you, Keith.
Keith, if you don't mind, if you could just do that anyway, that would really
I'll do
help.
it tomorrow morning.
Thank you. That'll be very helpful.
Excellent. Do you have anything to add, Keith?
No, we're in agreement with Jerome's recommendation.
Any comments from the commissioners? Okay, very good. And with that, do I hear a motion to release to the applicant $747,138.01 of the escrow amount, with the provisions that the payment of bills is resolved, and that the development is subject to the 18-month maintenance agreement, for which we are still holding the required escrow amount.
So move.
Motion? Okay, Nelson, second, I'll take Danny. Question on the motion?
So the question I have, Mr. Chairman, is as well, does that necessarily require the fulfillment of the punch list items that our consultant listed?
Yes, and I'm gonna write
Okay,
a letter. to
as long as
reflect
it's
that.
clear, that's what it means. Okay.
Very good. And Attorney Mooney is in agreement.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. With that, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. And the funds will be released as soon as possible.
Thank you. Nope.
Okay, and thank you,
your time
Keith,
this evening.
once again, very, very helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
Thank you, Keith. So we'll be doing this quite a bit.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So we might have a couple months off, but just remember what we did.
Well, been here 17 years, never had to do that before. Okay. With that, we go to item number 10, which is old business project updates and pending plans, but I don't believe we have a supplemental report this month.
No, we did not, but we took care of a lot of the reaffirmations as well as time extensions last month. I think the one that we have to keep our eye on is Wawa. Okay, that's good through January.
Okay. And okay, next, active plans requiring reaffirmation approval. Doesn't look like we have any today.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of effort on doing that in the past. I think we need to utilize our resources on maybe it was something that was we did for the applicants. It's not necessarily our duty to do this, so we'll let the applicant be responsible for that task. We are a bit short-staffed to do this.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, we just want to ensure there's a checklist somehow that these projects aren't getting further along with permits or anything until the reaffirmation and the plans are recorded and agreements are signed.
Definitely.
Active plans requiring time extensions, same story.
Well, yeah, we checked all the plans and everyone's in good standing. Like I said, the Wawa plan is probably the one that is going to be due up next.
Yeah. All right, and with that, we move on to phase 2 zoning and saldo amendments. And I'll turn it over to Jerome for for any comments he might have on that.
Within the next 2 weeks, we had the opportunity to meet with Reading Parking Authority again to go over final comments, and I think we're in agreement on the changes that need to be made. There may be still some disagreement on private lots versus public lots. That's maybe an argument to the very end. As I mentioned about with parking, the section dealing with the reduction of parking spaces will be transferred into the subdivision land development ordinance. We had no other comments really for the adaptive reuse other than what Will had provided. So we'll be making adjustments to all those comments now that we have all of them in, and expect the next draft to be out next week.
Okay, next draft. Okay, great, then I will submit.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, private versus public parking facilities. So where does that stand?
Reading Parking Authority would like their spaces to be treated a little bit differently and for short-term and long-term use.
Mhm.
That doesn't help you out, but there's a lot of scenarios that they have provided. And we really can't zone for them specifically. So we are, within our zoning ordinance, it does identify surface parking areas and also ones with deck parking. We don't come out and say public or private.
Yeah, but there have been issues in the past, and let's say there is a large building that could be redeveloped but lacks parking, and there is a private lot nearby that has parking available but is prevented from leasing to another building. I don't know. I'm not speaking here from absolute knowledge. I just hear things.
Well, you brought up a good example, and that's the Abe Lincoln parking lot.
Yeah.
Which is private. It's not a public parking placement, but we've had a couple plans that were located within close proximity. Namely the Berkshire building, which was the Alvernia. They wanted to utilize it for students, so they were going to be parking in that facility.
Yeah,
So
there have been
that's-
actually earlier attempts to redevelop that building. And this has become the issue with that building. You know, is there any intent on changing these regulations so that that private facility could be made available to others, or that we would potentially encourage developers to build their own parking facilities?
So Peter, zoning does allow agreements between private parking lot owners and other people. We did try to start tracking that. We just recently set up a kind of system within the zoning office in order to track that, so that way we don't run into the problem of double dipping parking spaces. There's one, for example, I forget the name of the restaurant right there on Woodward. There's a restaurant right there along 4th.
I can think of another example.
Yeah, so, but there's a restaurant right there, they have a parking lot, and we were allowing a property owner across the street to have a lease agreement with that restaurant to provide parking for their dwelling units.
Mhm.
So we do allow that. The main difference currently for zoning between private and public is just the fact that, public parking spaces, using RPA as an example, is that pretty much anyone can kind of go in and out. Whereas private lots are for very specific uses, and if they have extra parking spaces, so say they have a parking lot that accommodates 20 vehicles and their specific use only requires 10 of them, they technically have extra parking to have these private leases or agreements with other property owners.
Mhm.
So that's the main difference right now that we currently have between public and private. You know, for us, Reading Parking Authority lots are really public parking because anyone can really go in. If they have a long-term agreement, that's between them. But pretty much anyone can kind of go for the day or a couple hours.
So we're not going to prohibit private parking spots. We just approved a plan last year at the Sixth and Spring. Parking lot, which was always being used as a parking lot, but they had plans to go through and make it actually a private parking area.
Mhm.
And they're gonna have to improve it and put stormwater facilities.
Yeah, right. I remember
They,
that.
they, yeah, they haven't gone through that, so we're not gonna prohibit that,
Mhm.
but they do have to comply with zoning.
Okay, so that's the caveat is private lots can't allow public use and charge by the hour sort of thing.
Yeah, it gets tricky from an enforcement standpoint, but that's pretty much what it is that
Yeah.
like the Sixth and Spring parking lot, that one's really to serve that property owner's other uses catty corner to it. It's not going to be, you know, a gate entry where you can go pull a ticket and then pay for a couple
Yeah.
hours.
I understand. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So the argument that you know, the Berkshire building or that owner could not make an agreement to lease spaces from the Lincoln, that's incorrect.
I mean, it could have been that they couldn't for one reason or another. It could have been that there just wasn't sufficient to provide parking for both the Abe Lincoln and the Berkshire building. I'm not too well versed on what happened with that. That was kind of, that project was on the tail end when I first started. But that could have just been, it could have just been that they didn't come to whatever agreement. Or it could have just been that the Abe Lincoln just didn't have sufficient parking for them to have what they needed for the Berkshire building.
That may have been the case.
The Abe Lincoln does have you know, gates and does collect money and doesn't ask you why you're here. In other words, I could go park there.
Yeah.
And not go in the Lincoln and go do something else, right?
And this is something we can't close, or we're not going to be able to say that you can't do this anymore.
Yeah, again, I don't know what the specifics are for the Abe Lincoln parking. It is something that, not necessarily back burner, but it is something that we want to take a closer look at. Just because we have had an increase of people saying, well, we can use parking at the Abe Lincoln.
We've heard that in a number of applications.
So the zoning office is aware that we need to kind of maybe take a closer look at the Abe Lincoln. See what the original approval was for, what all they need. And then that way we can at least track how many they quote unquote have available to be able to lease out.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've recently approved for the parking authority to build a surface lot. You know, where the previous factory building stood. And it sounded like
625 McKnight Street.
Yeah, right. Thank you. And their intent there is to lease lots to whoever, right? Neighboring homeowners that want to, you know, park in a off-street situation. There is nothing that would prevent a private developer from doing the same, is there?
There would be, no.
Okay. Good. I think that.
And actually, there is a lot on. That's Court Street. There is a lot on 9th and Court that rents by week or month. And that's a private lot.
Good. All right.
Which is. If that's just outside the commercial core or not. See, just
The VR.
That's CR, so that, yeah, see that. what really throws this off is that, and I don't know if it's in the zoning anymore. But we complained when the parking authority, under a different executive director, so it has nothing to do with Nathan, this was years ago. When they sold the parking lot to Schumann Development Group, we told them, technically, that's not allowed under zoning, because in the zoning ordinance, it says that all parking in the commercial core is under the auspices of the Reading Parking Authority. And nobody listened to us. So now we have all these problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, well, I was going to bring up what you just mentioned, that had been a Reading Parking Authority lot operated by them for a few years. And so perhaps some exception in the zoning ordinance would have to be carved out for this unusual scenario, is my thought. Just quickly, the Fourth and Woodward restaurant, I think, is the Grill and Chill, which is good.
Yeah, there you go.
And then just wanted to confirm, we do have a program the city has, right, that tracks these lots and the various leases and assignments so that we're not double counting. You know, that a lot is being used for its contingent use, as well as leasing out this for this private developer, and that, you know, so that's all being kept straight. Am I correct?
We just input, so I don't know if maybe something was done previously. I know, it was more recently, maybe last year, at the direction of the zoning hearing board, they had brought up the issue of double dipping parking spaces. So, we created a parking agreement worksheet that applicants, whenever they're saying they're going to be leasing parking spaces, they need to fill that out, and then we do a review to make sure that that lot can lease out parking spaces. So I don't know.
But you're
if there was
tracking
some-
how many are available, how many have been leased out from other
For that
plans?
particular,
Okay.
yeah, for that particular lot, again, I don't know if there was maybe something previously, but it is something now that whenever there's going to be any type of change of use or something that requires parking, and they say they're going to be leasing it out, if it's not a Reading Parking Authority lot, if it's a private lot, there is now currently a tracking system process that.
Yeah, as long as there's some kind of tracking system.
Yes,
that
but
would-
it's
that would
very- it's-
satisfy my, yep.
It's very new, and so far I think I've only had maybe two or three instances where I've had to track it. But the process is there.
One item I think we're gonna get some pushback from a couple areas, is with regards to paving. For short-term and then long-term lease of properties. The ordinance says it, can be utilized in a non-improved state, has to be mud-free, but not paved for 12 months. Once it goes beyond, it's being used as a parking lot for 12 months, gotta be paved.
Was that a new thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
That should be interesting.
see that there's an interesting history to that, because at one time, all parking lots and all parking facilities had to be paved. Then zoning let off on that a little bit. And now we have, that now we've I think the idea is to come to some sort of compromise. Because of, zoning letting off on this requirement that all parking spaces have to be paved.
So we're gonna have some pushback on that one.
I just wanted to mention that I have some technical comments
You can send them.
that I'll send them directly to Jerome. There's nothing really substantial. a dash here. Where it's some references to the references to sections of code that seem to be incorrect. But that it's all technical stuff. And the same on the adaptive reuse. Okay, one or two comments there, yeah. So, very good. Does anyone else have anything on these zoning amendments?
Yeah, good question by Peter. We don't have that concern.
So, yeah, okay, great.
Parking's not an easy one to satisfy everybody.
No,
That's tick off the.
yeah, definitely. So, so like I said, I'll submit my technical things and then we'll go through another draft on this. Rather than doing any type of vote, because I think we also need some definitions.
Yeah.
I got done, so, all right, very good. Announcements, reports, and other planning commission business. Michelle, I think I saw that the council has agreed to reduce the blighted properties from 7 to 5 members.
Yes, we could not meet in September because we did not have a quorum. So in response, council enacted an ordinance reducing the members to 5 with 2 alternates to allow that to happen. So hopefully to prevent lack of a quorum going forward.
So of the 5,
Yeah.
two of them required re-upping their membership. So, and then this thing resumes in November.
But the question I have, Mr. Chairman, is that the planning still has a representative among the 5.
That's me.
Yes,
Right, which I know was Commissioner Rye had been our appointee, but that doesn't change. So the other, do we know what the breakdown is on the other? I mean, some are by council and some by the mayor. Is that how it works?
Yeah, there's
I
one
recall.
from the Reading Redevelopment Authority. That's Tom McCann.
Right, that's the other one, right.
Yeah, we have a city council rep, Chris Miller,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 others at large, which are
At
Mary
large,
Wolf
okay.
and Nick Irick. And I don't-
Okay, yeah, some of
and
the same ones when I served on there. That's good, yeah.
And then
So
the
2
2
at
alternates
large.
haven't been, 2 at large, yeah. The 2
Right.
alternates haven't been identified. So
Right.
at this point, we need 3 people to be there at a minimum, I guess, for a quorum.
Mhm.
correct.
Okay, just wanted to. get
A low
that.
bar.
Yeah, well, just wanted to get that cleared up, make sure that's moving forward. To lighter properties, nothing happening on Greenhouse at the moment that I can remember. There's one other one where we have a member that sits somewhere, but I can't remember what committee that is, so we'll leave it at that. I just wanted to go over that, zoning hearing board on November 8th.
Yes.
We'll be hearing appeal number 2023-34 for 201 South Sixth Street, 217 South Sixth Street, 223 South Sixth Street, and then a whole bunch of other addresses. Could you give us a little bit of background, because this sounds like something that's going to hit us.
I don't think that was one that I was assigned to.
Okay.
I can.
But because that's in the Prince Historic District, and if I remember correctly, some of those.
Oh, yeah, I'll pull it up.
Okay, if I remember correctly, some of these properties are on the blight list.
Yes, it is. They are doing, elderly residential. I'll pull it up on the screen right now. They would be looking to, I believe, see that, I can't type.
Is that the factory building?
Yes,
Oh, good.
it's on Sixth and Chestnut.
Yes.
Ah,
Oh, good. I hope they do something there.
Oh,
Yes.
that one that's dilapidated?
Yep.
Yes.
With the fence that's been there forever, blocking the sidewalk.
Yeah.
'Cause we're
That used
afraid
to
that-
be,
Yeah, we're afraid it's gonna fall on people.
That's one of them.
I'll put this up on the screen now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
yeah,
one of them.
this is-
As
yeah, this
Wayne
is-
and I have discussed, there's a handful like that of concern, yeah.
So
Mhm.
I believe they're looking at possibly demolishing a few. And then, but all of these are going to be, apartments for elderly.
Sounds like something for us, right? Jerome, should be.
It probably will be, it was. Put on the agenda because they need at least, ZHB, since it is a special exception, they would need, something in order to get funding for it. And so that's why they're on the agenda, because then the decision will be made in December, because then they need something stating that that use is permitted there in order for them to get, a certain level of funding.
And, that's in a zone that already allows adaptive reuses.
Well, yeah, it's a special exception, yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, great.
All adaptive reuse is pretty much special exception.
Fantastic. I just wanted to go over that because this looks like a big project.
Yeah,
And
it is.
like I said, some of these addresses clicked in my brain as being on the blacklist.
They are.
So this could be a vast improvement in this section of the city.
Yeah, we're excited for this project.
And then, the other thing I wanted to show off is, Channel 69 already covered this from what I understand yesterday, but at 5 p.m. I received an article from the Reading Eagle that will be published in tomorrow's paper that says Reading's proposed comprehensive plan to target 8 areas of development. And Jerome is quoted quite extensively in here, and lots of good information, comments from council people saying, yeah, let's get this moving forward.
And as you recall, these are the 8 priorities that you had endorsed about 6 months ago. We brought those to you, and then with goals and objectives underneath those. The one that came out, there was originally 9, but College Town was removed since it did not encompass Albright or RAC. So it was removed for that reason. But the other 8 were the ones that you had endorsed.
So just wanted to give a heads up for that. Does anyone have any other announcements or questions or anything?
Yeah, I would like to thank Tim Call of the Public Works Department, because I had brought something of concern to his attention about a traffic parking situation with sort of both. On North 13, well, not North 13th, it's actually Hampton Boulevard near Windsor. So what would that be, the 900 block, I think, and or 800 block, and he worked with the parking authority to address this parking. It was a parking problem, but my thought was that maybe some lines were needed, because really it was becoming a traffic problem with people parking well into the cartway of the street, and it has improved because of what they did. So I am seeing that. I look at the daytime and also at night. It's of course better during the day. Some people are parking on the part that's lined as no parking, but not as much as they had been, in what would have been that space before. The lines had faded, but the people were parking way beyond where the perpendicular parking was permitted. So, like I said, it was becoming sort of a hazardous, really a crazy situation. Just unusual the way it's laid out. So, I'm pleased with the results. It's not perfect, and the one component is for parking to enforce it, the authority. But I think that has definitely made it safer, and I just appreciate that. It's the kind of thing that, well, any member of the public can bring forward a suggestion, but as members of volunteers for the planning commission, we can bring things that not everything has to go through the meeting because it really was nothing to do with planning, but we can give our input and our perspective to bear on a problem and make suggestions, or at least bring it to the right people who are the experts to know what to do. So I was pleased with that. So thank you. And as you know, Mr. Chairman, we do bring up other things. We do bring up other things to the city and try to get results on those. And I have follow up to do. I've been working on more with the street lights. I know, and you were working on the poles too.
Yeah.
So I hope we can get some favorable resolution of those matters too. But thank you everybody for I wouldn't say resolving it, but certainly improving it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it might be a good time just to give you an update that the Reading Parking Authority is now, they have staff and equipment now to do all of the parking stalls. And they're making not only these surface lots, but they're out in the cartway, out on the street and marking these stalls, which we have not had, not much. Anyway, very little of it up until just recently. And so they have a whole staff and they have the paint and they have the wherewithal.
I just saw them this afternoon after work with the cones and the truck, exactly. And that is by city ordinance that they're supposed to be lined. But as you said, we've hardly had any. We had them more where it's the perpendicular parking than the parallel.
Yeah.
And I think at one point there was parallel parking. I do have a question. Like I said, it did come up in our discussion on parking. We seem to have a uniform size, but I guess that's the way it is in the ordinance. I can't remember if it specifies it. But as we've noted, there are vehicles that are larger than that and some that are smaller than that. So I do have that question.
Yeah, they're aware of it, and their engineer is aware of it. It's the same engineer that we've been working with on the surface lots for the land development plan. Then they're also using traffic planning and design when it involves traffic signals and something a little more technical. So they have a pretty good team of people working on it, and we're communicating. And after all, they're the ones that enforce it. So it's good that they're doing it.
Right. And it looks to me like people are abiding by those lines.
It's surprising that they're actually, for the most part, that they are abiding by those lines. So it has seemed to be working.
My concern, and I know I'm not the only one to have expressed it, is let's say somebody doesn't follow those lines for whatever reason, and another car has to park, but can't park within the lines because of the first person not parking with them, and that second person could get ticketed. That would be my only concern. But if everybody's complying with it, then that's great. But like I said, as long as it can be addressed that we are mindful of odd-sized vehicles, because we can fit more in. Obviously, we talked about motorcycles, but the I don't know what they're called, the super compact cars. These, particularly these electric type, as well as, like I say, there are oversized vehicles. How do we accommodate? How do we not accommodate, but how are they considered? Considered is the word I'm looking for. That's my only concern about it. But yeah, that's good follow-up point. That's definitely part of it. But in the area I brought up was already lined, but the lines were faded. But people are parking way beyond that, and then they're parking next to it where there are no. It doesn't say they can, but doesn't say they can either. So I don't know if we want to allow that for parking. I would leave that in Public Works. I know I'm talking in there on the west side of North 13th Street. In that case, that opens up more parking, but is that a good thing? There's no curb or anything there. I don't know. I leave that to your judgment. What you think about that?
Yeah, again, that's probably something that their engineers would look at. I think right now we're just going to leave it the way it is. The most important thing is that it gets enforced. When they put the lines, they enforce the lines. And I think that's what's getting the positive reaction to all of this, which is a good thing.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay, next, we have received minutes for April, May, June, July, and August. Few minor things, but I didn't see anything major. Does anyone have anything major on any of these? On any of these minutes? Okay, hearing none. I will ask Michelle, can I make a single motion for each, for all? All 5 months?
I would do each one individually, just so it's recorded that way.
Okay. Great.
Sorry, Emily.
For the page.
Okay, so, do I hear a motion to approve the April 25th, 2023 minutes with minor corrections?
All right,
Dan?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. James?
I'll second.
Very good. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Wait,
Opposed?
who did the first, who did the second?
Danny did the first, James did the second.
Thank you.
No problem. That's why I when I worked for the Eagle, I used to do this, and that was what I quit that job 20 years ago. I still do it. So okay, do I hear a motion to approve the May 23rd, 2023 meeting minutes with minor corrections?
So move.
Okay, Nelson? Second? Second. Danny? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Do I hear a motion to approve the June 27th, 2023 meeting minutes with minor corrections? Danny? Second? I'll second that. All those in favor, please, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Do I hear a motion to approve the July 25th meeting minutes with minor corrections?
So move.
Nelson? Second?
sure.
Peter? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And finally, do I hear a motion to approve the August 22nd meeting minutes with minor corrections? Dan? Second?
I'll second.
Okay, James? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Fine, we're just 1 month behind.
yeah.
I will get them next month.
Okay.
So
great.
send the edits to both me and Emily.
Yeah, it's just minor. Minor things, there's an S missing to make the noun agree with the verb, stuff like that. Okay, next up, let's see here, we have scheduled a planning commission workshop meeting for Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. And we have our regular meeting will be Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. Now, I just need to make sure about something.
Yeah, everyone should check their schedules on this.
Yeah. No, I will be in Louisville from November 10th to the 13th, so I will be here. I just wanted to give a heads up to Will in case I wasn't around, because I knew I had to go to Louisville, but I couldn't remember which weekend I had to go. My daughter is performing with Louisville Ballet in Giselle, and she wants me to come down and see her, so I get to drive for 10 hours, spend one day, and then drive 10 hours. Very good. Is there anything for the good of the order? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
Second.
Yeah, okay. Second,
Second.
okay, James. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? We are out of order. Thank you very much. Once again,
Alright.
and
Good night.
hey, 30 minutes before the Phillies game, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
37 actually, yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Good
All
night.
right.
Good
All
night.
right,
Good
good
night.
night. Go Phils.
Night.